We've been in this series called Relationship Goals, and relationship is one of these very interesting topics, right? I don't want to repeat too much, but 2 weeks ago we started this series, and this is what we said: we all come into a relationship with this thing called hopes, dream, and desires, right? We all have a picture, we all have an imagination of what our relationship will be. If you're old enough, you're thinking, man, if I meet someone, if I get into a marriage, right, this is what I'm hoping to happen. This is my picture of what's going to happen with me and him or with me and her, right? But here's the problem: your box, your hopes, dream, and desire is different than my hopes, dream, and desire, or the person that you will be together with, right? So, in other words, everybody have different things in their box, right? I'll give you a lot of example last week. Just in terms of the way we handle the money, right? What about the cars and the house, right? I mean, are we gonna cook at home? Are we going to eat out, right? How are we going to spend our holiday, right? How are we going to live our life every day, the way we feel time, right? Some of us, just really good at being somewhere on time. Some of us just like on time is not really a big deal for them, right? And then in terms of the kids, right? We want to have one, or we want to have two, or I cannot find the other one. I don't know where he's running to, or I don't know, right? So how many that we're going to have? In other words, everybody have hopes, dream, and desire. Now, the challenge is, right, again, like I said, everybody come in to a relationship with their own box that looks different than the other person box. And if we are not careful, we come into a relationship hoping that all of these things that in our box will happen. In other words, we give it to the person, to our future husband, to our future wife, to our future boyfriend and girlfriend, and we said this: here, make it happen for me. Make it come true for me. Now, here's the problem, right? From where I am standing, it looks like hopes, dream, and desire. From the other position where other people standing, right, it sounds like an expectation. See, from me, from where I'm standing right here, hey, this is my hope, dream, and desires, right? But when I hand it to the other person, from where you are standing, from where your future husband or future wife standing, it sounds or it looks like a demand. It looks like a homework for them. It looks like an expectation for them, right? So again, if we are not careful, we come into a relationship, and you see this a lot, or maybe you experience it, that you kind of like swap the box, right? Here's what I want, please make it come true. And the other person say, here's what I want, here, make it come true, right? And we said this 2 weeks ago. If we do that in a relationship or in your future relationship, you are creating what we call dad and dater relationship. In other words, this is what the language will sound like. Well, that's what you're supposed to do. Well, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to do this for me. You're supposed to do that for me, right? Well, isn't that your role? Right? That's what it sounds like in that and dater relationship, because the language is like, well, you owe me something. And the other person say the same thing, you owe me something. So again, you can download our apps to check out the full message of that first part that we talked about 2 weeks ago. And by the way, at the end of this message, we're still going to do the question. You can send us questions. We'll give you 1 minute time, and you can send us questions. So, if you have questions as I speak, right, save it, remember it, and then at the end of the message, you can pull out your apps and then your phone, and then you can send me question. Now, today, I want to just share with you something really, really quick, right? We're still going to be in the topic of expectation, because it is such a big deal, right, in relationship. If you think about it, a lot of young people here, sometimes you're wondering why your parents never happy with you. There's got to be connected to some type of expectation, right? If you're married, if you're dating, there's this sense of there's something like I don't get what I want, right? That's also connected to expectation. So expectation is such a big deal. So what do we do with it? 2 weeks ago, we said that, don't forget about it. Just don't brush it off. Don't deny it, right? And I think it's just impossible to have a relationship where we have no expectation at all. Our expectations are always going to be there, right? So what do we do with the expectation that we have? How do we manage it? How do we deal with it? So I want to share you three things again really quick, right? Number one, this is what you and me need to do when it comes to relationship. When it comes to expectation in relationship. Number one is this, that they must be expressed. They must be expressed. The expectation have to be expressed. Do you guys notice that 80% of our expectation are assumed? Do you guys know that? Man, if you are younger in this place, this is such a great information for you. Because 80% of our expectation are assumed. Here's what it means. On one side, we assume that we know what the other person wants. We assume what the other person expected of me. On the other side, we also assume that the other person know what we want. Does it make sense, right? So in other words, there's a lot of assumption going on. This is why relationship is such a hard work, right? You have to have a lot of communication because there's a lot of assumption going on. This is why I hope you notice that time is the currency of relationship. Without we investing time in our relationship, we will never get to know one another. Time is the currency of relationship. See, it doesn't matter whether you have dated for 10 years. It doesn't matter whether you've been married for 15, 20 years. Still, if we never invested time in our relationship, we will never get to know each other's expectation. Why? Why is it? Why is it like that? Because again, things are changing from season to season. You know what you expected of your spouse or for your girlfriend is different than later on when you guys get married. After you guys get married, your expectation will be later different once you have family, once you have kids. Things are changing from season to season. So if we never invested time in a relationship, then we will never know what's the expectation of each other, right? Someone actually did say this, that they illustrate a relationship is like a house or a building. In other words, if you don't do anything to it, if you don't do anything to a house, it will not get better by itself. As a matter of fact, it gets the opposite, right? It gets dirty, it gets dusty, right? If you don't want the house to be dirty and dusty, then we have to maintain it. We have to take care of it, right? Clean it up, wipe it off, right? Dust it off, right? But if you want your house to be even better condition, you have to invest in it, right? Invest your time, invest your money in it. You got to fix things, you got to replace things, you got to renew things, right? And that's what relationship is like. Let me tell you a secret, and those of you who are single and sitting in this room, oh man, I'm so glad that you're here. Do you know what happened to a lot of married couple? Especially when they started to have children, that all of their time, all of their energy, all of their attention go to the kids. We give all of that to our children and we forgot to invest time and energy in our marriage relationship. What does it look like to invest time, right? Go on a date again, right? Not just when you get married. Go somewhere, go to dinner without the kids, right? Spend regular time and talk. After the kids go to sleep, you spare some time to talk, to have conversation, read books together, going to marriage conference, right? Some of you say, nobody does that, Sam. Right? That's why It's very, very rare you see somebody and you go like, well, you see a couple and you say like, I want my marriage to look like them because it's a lot of hard work. And if you find a couple that you say that, man, I want my marriage to look like them, I bet you they invest a lot of time and energy in their relationship. What we do, when you, again, I know some of you are not married, like only a couple of us are married, right? But do you know that's the best time for you to express your expectation? When you actually go on a date and, spend time together. You know what happened is the opposite. When we are fighting as marriage couple, when we are arguing, when we are fighting, that's when we express our expectation. Well, you didn't do that. Well, you are supposed to do this. You always do that. You always do this. Isn't that true, right? When we argue and when we fight, then that's when we express our expectation. And sometimes the other person go like, wow, I really didn't know what she wants. I really didn't know that's what he wants from me, right? Because we never express our expectation. The scripture teaches this. My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be, help me out here, quick to listen and slow to become angry. Quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. In other words, it's this. Don't become a person that just want to be heard, but be someone who's willing to listen. This is what it says. Hey, Sam, if you want to be the expert, right? Sam, be the expert in listening. Don't be the expert in talking, right? How many of you know that everything that we do, everything that people do, makes sense in their own head? Right? This is why from time to time you watch someone, whether it's about dating, whether it's about relationship, whether it's about other decision, and you watch someone do something and you go like, I wonder what was he thinking when he was doing that? I wonder what she was thinking when she was doing that, right? Because again, if you ask them what they are thinking, whatever that they are thinking, it makes sense in their own head. That's why expectation has to be expressed. If you are in relationship, you have expectation, do not withhold them, do not be silent, express them. Don't assume that the other person know what you want, right? But at the same time, we also need to ask the other person. And we need to, when we ask question, when we ask about what their expectation is, we need to listen, right? Even though you want to talk so bad, hey, quick to listen, slow to speak, right? Even if you don't agree to what they want, right? You and me, we still need to listen. Don't try to guess. Don't try to, I know so, I guess so, right? Give them the opportunity to express their expectation. Quick to listen and slow to speak. That's what we need to do with our expectation. Number one is we have to express them. Number two, I think we all supposed to know this, but hey, I guess it's not so common sense after all. They must be realistic. They must be realistic. Who do you think I should start first? Ladies or men? Okay, let's start with men. I don't know if it's just me, but I met a lot of guys, right? Again, I might be wrong. You might disagree, right? I met a lot of guys. This is what I heard when they are looking for someone or their future wife or whatever, right? This is what they say. I'm looking for a woman, a wife who can cook, who can clean, who can take care of our children, if we do have children, basically who can take care of things around the house while I'm working on my car, I'm spending time with my hobby. I still do the things that I was doing when I was single. Working on things on my laptop for hours and hours, right? See, I heard that a lot. I just don't think it's very realistic. If you meet a guy like that, see, you are not looking for a wife. You are looking for someone to be your mom, right? Is that true, right? I mean, how can we expect we meet a woman and then we still want to do everything that we used to do when we're single while she's going to take care of the rest of the things around the house or the children and things like that? If you are man in this place, do you know who your wife is? I want to read to you who she is. In the same way, your husband must give honor to your wife. You, husband, must give honor to your wife. Treat your wife with understanding as you live together. She may be weaker than you are, but she is your equal partner in God's gift of new life. Treat her as you should, so your prayer will not be hindered. Do you know what equal partner mean in other translation? That your wife is your heirs in God's gift. Meaning that, when someone died, right, they leave inheritance, right? And if you are the heir, that means that you are the recipient of that. Well, there's this inheritance from God. There's the gift that calls a new life. And that gift belongs to your wife as well. Because she is your equal partner. I mean, God is so serious about this. God is so serious about you and me, man, right? Treating our wife well. God says, if you don't treat her well, I will not answer your prayer. That's how serious God is about this. In a marriage counseling, I said it many, many times, that the wife's job is not only to support the husband to discover their purpose, to be successful, but the husband has to also support and help the wife to discover her purpose as well. Okay, ladies, right? Never mind. I mean, I don't think you guys have anything, right? You guys are perfect. All of your expectations are realistic, right? Right? Okay, let me add another thing to the man. We got to stop with the sarcasm, okay? Right? I mean, ladies, right? Okay, just want to let you know. I think you know this, but I feel like I have to say it, right? That your marriage, your life is not a romantic comedy movie, okay? Your life is not a Korean drama movie, right? You want a guy who is full of surprise and then talk with you until late at night, look at you in the eyes, right? He has to be funny, charming, and good looking at the same time. And then you want guys who can read your mind and know what exactly that you are thinking. I mean, when we get married, he's gonna be with me all the time. He's not gonna have any friends, right? He's not gonna hang out with his friend. He's just gonna be with me all the time. He's going to have a flawless character and then make a good amount of money at the same time. In the same way, you, wife, must accept the authority of your husbands. Then even if some refuse to obey the good news, your godly life will speak to them without any words. They will be won over by observing your pure and reverent life. In other words, hey, ladies, the way you respect your husband, the way you honor your husband, even if this is my translation of this here, even if he doesn't know God, because you treating him so well, because you respect him so well, because you honor him so well, he gonna end up giving his life to God because of how you treat him, right? So again, I go back to that second. They must be realistic. Have we ever thought about this? Maybe, just maybe, what we are asking, what our expectation are just not realistic, right? We are asking the other person to fulfill us. We are asking the other person to give us the things that we don't get from our parents when we are growing up, the affection, the peace, the fulfillment, the healing. You know, when we are asking, when we expect that from the other person, it's like we are trying to make the other person as God. Have you ever realized that? Because only God that can give you healing, fulfillment, peace. And we are putting them in the position of God, even though if they love you so much and they want to do that for you, they want to fill that void, that hole in our life, they cannot do that. Simply because they are not God. Right? They are not your Savior. We only have one Savior, that is Jesus Christ. So don't put them in that position. Here's the last one now. So expectation, they need to be expressed. They need to be realistic. Here's the last one. They may need to be negotiated. They may need to be negotiated. Now, some of you notice, some things are just non-negotiable, right? I mean, a certain legal, moral, and if you call yourself a Christian, Jesus follower, some of the values, biblical values, are non-negotiable. For example, if you're parents, your kids can negotiate with you in terms of curfew. Usually you got to be home by 8. Okay, just this one time you can be home by 9 or 10, right? But underage drinking is non-negotiable. So things like that, that's what I mean. If you're married, right? I mean, it's non-negotiable that you are not supposed to spend a night at the opposite sex house and then just especially sleeping in one room and things like that. Just common sense, right? There are things that are non-negotiable. But to be honest with you, there are a lot of things in relationship that are negotiable, right? Especially about our personal preference and things like that. Here's the question before we dismiss. Are you and me, are we reasonable person? Are we willing to negotiate? Or are we just stubborn and selfish? Well, this is the way that has to be. We're going to do it this way, right? Are we going to do it my way? There's a few things that are going to happen really quick if you and me are not willing to negotiate in a relationship. This is what will happen. We leave. One of the person will leave. Because they said, well, you didn't tell me that in the beginning. You didn't make it clear in the beginning. You changed the rule, right? That's not what I signed up for. I can never fulfill your expectation. I can never carry this expectation. I will never live up to your expectation. I didn't know this, right? So bye. We leave if we're not willing to negotiate. The second one is this, that somebody will win. Do you know that win in a relationship is not really winning, right? The one person will win, but the relationship itself will suffer, right? Usually in a relationship, there's a stronger personality, right? They're the one who can power up, they can scream louder, they can be angrier, right? So that strong personality, we usually convince, we control. You're wrong, man. Your box is the bad one. Mine is the good one, right? Hey, become more like me. Trust me, you will be happier. It will work out, right? Hey, babe, I mean, I don't want to be critical. I mean, come on. Your box is kind of dumb, right? I mean, that's what your parents did. How does it work out for them, right? Hey, babe, I realize that you always do that, but you're wrong, right? Well, your family tell you to do this, but they're wrong, right? See, this is what happened. The winner, the one who's good at arguing, the one who's good at talking and convincing, they're happy. Someone see them and they go like, hey, how is your marriage been? Oh, man, it's amazing. But the other person, they are miserable. Why? Because this is the other response. If you are not willing to negotiate, the other person have to conform. The other person becomes somebody that they're not, right? This is what you often hear, whether it's your parents saying it, or maybe, I hope you don't say this in your marriage. Well, you know what? As long as he's happy, I'll deal with it. You know what? It's not what I really want, but as long as he's happy, oh well, right? You know, it work out for the person who are conforming as well, because why? They're trying to avoid a conflict. The temperature in the relationship goes down, the tension goes down, and we said, well, it's not really my hope, dream, and desire, but if this is gonna make us not arguing and fighting, that's okay, right? This kind of relationships, sooner or later, we're gonna start lose respect toward one or the other. And here's the last one. If we are not willing to negotiate, we compromise. We compromise. A lot of us think that this is the goal in a relationship, that we compromise. We think that this is the win, but it's not really. You know, I'm sure many of us seen this maybe with our parents, right? I mean, if you look at them, they're not really happy, but at the same time, they're not really divorced as well, right? But if people ask you a question, do you want to have the same type of marriage like them? You go like, I don't know about that, right? They just kind of work it out, you know. They together, they're not separated because they kind of figure it out, right? Well, you know what? I'm doing my part and she's doing my part. Hey, we just stay here for the kids, right? But there's no intimacy, there's no trust because we all keeping score. It's like a contract, right? Well, I did my part. Have you done your part? Right? I did my part to raise our children. You know, have you done your part? Right? Low intimacy, low trust. And if you are single in this place, you want to know the secret of great sex is nothing physical. It's about intimacy and trust. Because in a great sexual relationship, it's all about fully trusting the other person, fearless and fully trusting your husband or your wife. When this has happened in our relationship, there's no intimacy, there's no trust. So go back to that question. Are we reasonable person? Can your kids reason with you? Can your husband reason with you? Can your wife reason with you? Here's what the proverb says. Fools think their own way is right, but the wise listen to others. Fools have no interest in understanding. They only want to air their own opinion. Right? This is what it says in the book of James. The wisdom from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and check this out, open to reason, full of mercy, good fruit, impartial, and sincere. The scriptures say if we are reasonable, if we are open for suggestion, we have wisdom. If we don't power up to get what we want, if we don't force our ways, then we are wise. When someone is talking, we don't minimize their feeling, we don't criticize their suggestion, then we are wise. And at the same time, maybe some of us, we are overly sensitive. When somebody makes a suggestion, we always take it personal. We always look at that as someone is attacking us. And we get defensive. God wants us to experience great relationship in your marriage and your family. And you have to notice the people who are successful in the relationship are not defensive, are not stubborn. They are willing to listen, to learn, and open to reason, and open to ideas, and learn from each other. So 3 things that you need to do with expectation in relationship. Since we cannot avoid it, they must be expressed, they must be realistic, and they may need to be negotiated.